It was a cold winter evening and Daniel was standing at the bus stop, his breath forming clouds in the air, the street lamps casting pale pools of light onto the wet pavement. He had just finished another long shift at the small printing shop where he worked, a place that barely paid his bills but kept him going. He wrapped his scarf tighter around his neck and shoved his hands into his pockets, hoping the bus would arrive soon. The icy wind cut through his thin coat and he glanced down the street, seeing only the faint glow of headlights from cars passing by. Then his eyes caught a figure standing a few feet away, a woman shivering visibly, her arms wrapped around herself as if trying to hold in whatever warmth she could find. She wore a light blouse and a skirt completely unsuitable for the biting cold. Her lips were pale, her teeth chattering, and she kept glancing at the road as though willing the bus to appear. Daniel hesitated for a moment, unsure if he should approach. Strangers could be wary, but something in her hunched posture and the way her shoulders trembled made him take a step forward. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. She looked up, startled, her eyes wide for a moment before softening slightly. "I am fine," she said, though her voice shook from the cold. "You are not fine," he replied without thinking. He took off his jacket without hesitation. It was not much, just a worn brown coat he had owned for years, but it was warm enough. "Here, take this," he said, holding it out. She blinked at him. "I cannot take your jacket, you will be cold too." He shook his head. "I will be fine, you need it more than I do right now." After a brief pause she accepted it, her fingers brushing his hand for a second. "Thank you," she murmured, pulling it around her shoulders. It was far too big for her, but she looked relieved almost immediately. Daniel nodded and stepped back. The bus arrived moments later, rumbling to a stop. They boarded and Daniel found a seat near the back. The woman sat a few rows ahead, staring out of the window. Daniel did not try to talk again, figuring she might want to be left alone. When the bus reached the central stop, she stood and walked to the door. Before stepping off, she turned slightly and met his eyes. "Thank you again," she said softly. He simply smiled and nodded, and then she was gone, disappearing into the crowded street. The next morning Daniel arrived at work, tired but ready for another monotonous day. The printing shop was quiet, the air filled with the faint smell of ink and paper. His manager had told everyone to be in early for an important announcement. Daniel wondered if it was about the rumors of new ownership. He was aligning a stack of flyers when the door opened and his manager walked in with a woman by his side. Daniel froze. It was her, the woman from the bus stop, but today she was not shivering. She wore a perfectly tailored navy suit, her hair neatly styled, her confident stride echoing through the small shop. Her eyes scanned the room until they landed on him, and a faint smile curved her lips. "This is Ms. Evelyn Carter," my manager announced. "She is the new owner of the company. Effective today, she will be overseeing operations starting immediately." Daniel could barely process the words new owner. Evelyn Carter, CEO of Carter Media Group, a name he had heard in news articles about successful business expansions. What was she doing here, buying their small printing shop? Evelyn greeted the staff with a warm but professional tone, thanking them for their work and expressing her vision for the future. Daniel tried to stay focused on his tasks, but his mind kept replaying last night. After the meeting ended, she approached him directly. "Mr. Daniel Reed," she said in a voice that was both familiar and commanding. "I believe we met last night." Daniel straightened. "Yes, ma'am, at the bus stop." Evelyn smiled. "I still have your jacket. I wanted to return it, but more importantly I wanted to thank you in a more proper way." Daniel shook his head. "It was nothing really." Evelyn studied him for a moment before saying, "Sometimes the smallest gestures are worth the most. You did not know who I was and yet you helped me." She handed him a small envelope. He opened it to find not money but a card with her direct contact information. "Call me," she said. "I may have an opportunity for you." Daniel felt confused and curious but nodded. Days passed and Daniel continued working, though his mind often drifted to Evelyn's words. Finally one evening he called. She invited him to a downtown cafe. The place was quiet, warm, and smelled of roasted coffee. When she arrived she greeted him warmly and they sat across from each other. I did some checking, Evelyn began. You have been working at the printing shop for 5 years, no promotions, and you have been designing graphics for local clients on the side. Daniel nodded, a little embarrassed. It is just something I do to make ends meet. Evelyn leaned forward. I saw your designs. They are good, very good. In fact, I am in need of a creative lead for a new project Carter Media is launching. I think you could be that person. Daniel blinked in shock. I do not have a degree in design. Evelyn smiled. Neither did I when I started. Sometimes skill and determination matter more than credentials. This could be your chance. Over the following weeks Daniel found himself working closely with Evelyn's team, learning more in a month than he had in years. She was demanding but fair, her high standards pushing him to improve. She also had a human side that appeared in quiet moments, when she laughed at his dry jokes or when they shared coffee during late nights at the office. One evening after a long day they stepped out into the crisp night air. Evelyn wrapped her scarf tighter and glanced at him. Do you know why I was at that bus stop that night? she asked. Daniel shook his head. I had just left a meeting where one of my closest business partners betrayed me. I felt completely alone and foolish. I did not want to call my driver. I just wanted to feel normal for a while, and then you showed up. You did not ask for anything, you just helped. That meant more than you know. Daniel listened quietly, feeling an unexpected warmth in his chest. From that moment their professional relationship carried a subtle undercurrent, something unspoken but understood. Months passed, Daniel's role grew, and so did their connection. Late one night they stood by the office window looking out at the city. Evelyn turned to him. You have changed a lot since I met you. Daniel smiled. Maybe I just needed someone to believe in me. Evelyn's eyes softened. Maybe we both did. They did not speak of romance directly, but their closeness deepened in a way that felt inevitable. It was in the way she sought his opinion on decisions, and the way he noticed when she looked tired and made her tea. One snowy evening, exactly a year after the bus stop meeting, Evelyn handed him a small wrapped box. Inside was a new coat, high quality and warm. I think it is time you had a better one, she said with a teasing smile. Daniel laughed and thanked her, but inside he knew the real gift was far greater. She had given him a chance, a future, and something that felt dangerously close to love. One day as they left a meeting, Evelyn paused on the sidewalk, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. Do you ever think about how one small act can change everything? Daniel looked at her and smiled. I do now. And as they walked together through the cold night, their breath forming clouds in the air, Daniel realized that the night he lent his jacket, he had not just given warmth to a stranger, he had opened the door to a life he never imagined.